Cole, how would you describe Kodiak?
So dope. Sorry, I hate that word.
Was the word you were going to choose dry? I'm sure.
Okay, here we go. Rolling. Look at that sexy Adam Foss. Look at that.
Not only can he shoot stuff with a bow and arrow, he's pretty good on a camera.
We are in Kodiak, Alaska, in Cole Kramer's tent. This is your tent.
Yep, I do own it.
And we're hunting blacktails. This is what day are we, 4?
Yeah, 4 days.
So, Cole, tell me about the Skittles.
No, this is too early. This is too early in the...
Oh, okay. Let's talk a little bit about Cole Kramer. Okay? You ready for this?
Sure.
Cole's a guide in Alaska, and you primarily guide for bear? Brown bear?
Brown bear, mountain goats, Sitka black-tailed deer, a few Dall sheep.
All Kodiak?
Dall sheep are on the mainland. And then we have some brown bear hunts we do on Alaska Peninsula as well.
Okay. How long have you been guiding?
Well, I started when I was packing in 2002, I believe. Fall of 2002.
What does that mean, packing?
Well, like basically you start your apprenticeship to become a guide.
You're a good guy, dude. You're a good hunter. And,
well, these deer are super hard to hunt, as you can tell. They're like the wily. If you've never hunted blacktail, if you want to talk about, they're
come
way
on
more
now.
skittish
Come
than
on, wait a
whitetail.
minute. You can't say that. We talked about that earlier, right? Like, a lot of people will come here and say they're dumb deer.
Yeah, that's kind of annoying. I hate when people say that about animals, They're a little bit naive to humans. Mm-hmm. Some of these deer have never seen humans before, so you don't look like a giant brown bear that's trying to take them down, so they're like, you're not too bad, But, yeah, it's just mainly the brown bears trying to get after them, but even that's pretty rare. I think it happens, but I've seen it a couple times, but throughout all the years I've been doing this, it's only a couple times. So I think that's more opportunistic type of thing for the bears and the deer.
What attracted you to come to Kodiak? Like, why Kodiak?
I always loved hunting.
You grew up 11, in Kansas.
12. Kansas and Missouri. Okay, so Kansas, then moved to Lee Summit, Missouri. My parents split up when I was 11. My aunt and uncle moved to Alaska. And my uncle's in the Coast Guard. Flew H-60s for the Coast Guard rescue helicopters, and invited us, my brother and I, up just kind of get away from things and come fishing. And so when we flew up here when I was 11, and I'd fished a lot in Kansas, like with my dad, but then, we were all catching bluegill,
right,
bass, little bass, and catfish. But, you come up here and you catch pink salmon or silvers or whatever on every cast when you're a little kid. It's like kind of spoils you for the rest of your life. And it was just like, whoa, I want to get back up there, as soon as I possibly can. And when I came up, when I was in 17, I talked with an outfitter in Kodiak to ask him questions and whatnot. Like, okay, what needs to be done? How do I do this? And he kind of gave me the rundown of what needed to happen. So a week after high school, then my uncle came down. He bought a truck. We bought a trailer, threw my little Toyota truck and all my gear on the back, and we drove up the Alcan and came up here. And then I got my first packing job. I think it was like, so I got up here in June, and September went out for the first packing job. So that's kind of the really quick, skinny, kind of long story.
And then because I wonder sometimes, this is a pretty daunting climate, here. You get this far north, and then it's also marine,
yeah.
So you get a lot of rain, but you get the snow and you get the cold. I always wonder about the guys that come up here and choose to live up here.
Sure.
But you took to it.
Yeah, the adventure is so thick here. You get on some brown bear hunts and goats and deer, and it's just... when you're with your mentor, like your guide mentor, and it starts raining and blowing like today, and you're like, you look at him kind of like, okay, now what? And then you see him setting up a tarp and this or that or the other. Like I had a guy, still work with Paul Shervanek, that, he was out there all the time to set up a tarp, and he's like, well, if you're not if you're not out in it, you're not going to get it.
Right.
Which take away everything I said today. Like, you're not moving for sure in this rain. So anyway, but he handled it great. And so I learned what we could get away with in wet weather and what we shouldn't get, or what we shouldn't take for granted and what we can't get away with.
Yep.
And so you just kind of learn, whereas if you're just a guy coming out on your own the first time and you get sopping wet and just have a horrible experience and crappy gear, that could really sour you from really wanting to come back in an environment like this. But I had a really good mentorship, fortunately, growing up out here.
We could talk gear forever, because this sort of climate really puts it to the test. But I really want to get into more about the brown bear experience, because you asked me earlier, what animal, yes, Michael, what animal would you love to hunt? If you had any choice, what's the hunt of your dreams? And I asked you that, and you said brown bear with a bow.
Yeah.
Which you get to do as a guide from the guide shoes, which kind of surprised me that was your answer for yourself, given the fact that you've been there and you've done it. You practically, as a guide and taking someone who hasn't been to Kodiak before.
Yeah.
And maybe has never hunted a bear with a bow. You take that guide up to, you were telling us some stories of did you say 6 yards?
Yeah.
6 yards within a bear, and you put that guy on it and you tell him when to shoot. You've kind of been, and not to take away from the hunter, because the hunter's got to make that shot, but at the end of the day, you're the guy that made it happen most of the way. Right?
Well,
and that's what you're paid to do.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So it just surprised me when you were like, yeah, that's the hunt I want to do.
Yeah. Well, it's really, really easy for the guides to sit back and I could have made that shot. Oh, he made a horrible shot. No matter what you're hunting, right? And so it's just kind of one of those things where I just love bears. I love watching bears, and it's not like I love killing bears. I just love watching bears and being around bears. The killing is a very, very short thing, and, can be a little bit, sad at times or whatnot, because you respect them. I really respect bears. And so, but it's just getting close, and it's different when you're looking down the scope with a 375 or a 458 lot and or holding your bow, and that's it, And so, I feel pretty freaking safe. I feel like I've got it completely under control when we're close. And
because you're the guy with the gun.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm pretty sure my hunters probably have a little bit of a different thought in their head, But so I don't know. It's just it'd just be pretty cool to be able to do that,
What's your longest range brown bear shot your hunter's ever taken?
For bow.
For bow.
Was I think 30 yards. 30 yards in that.
And you typically want even closer.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a little quicker shot than I thought was going to happen. So, but, that bear was coming in. It was coming close and stopped for a second. Hunter took the shot, which it worked out fine. He killed the bear, but we try to get, you try to get him close enough, because problem is, just like rifle hunting, you make a poor shot and you make another shot, and those bears go 100 miles an hour once you hit them. They're not real happy about it. And so if you can get another arrow into them possibly quick, just like a rifle shot. But just closer the better. And a lot of guys forget certain steps, when they're under high pressure circumstance. And, I like to ask guys, hey, is there anything that I should be reminding you? Because it's one thing a deer or goat, elk, whatever. I mean, you get buck fever really easily. But when it comes to a dangerous game animal, people get pretty excited. And so, I've done it enough to see guys completely fall apart, bad shot happen, and I just, as a guide, it's always basically your fault, okay? We can badmouth the hunter all we want, but realistically, there's probably something you could have done to avoid that situation as the guide, And so every circumstance that you do, you try to learn from it. I've made some pretty piss-poor judgments throughout the year, and you just try to keep learning and go forward and learn from it all.
Right. Have you ever been charged when you get that close?
I've only realistically, I've had some bears come loafing over to me, but not as I recall for archery. I've had them come up to us pretty close. I've called them in several times, very close range. I've only been charged by one sow that flat out saw me and just wanted to come eat my lunch. And I was actually up goat hunting.
Really?
So, yeah, I was by myself goat hunting. I drew a tag and just happened to just be up there by myself, come over the ridge, and there she was. And she decided to come
Did she have cubs, or was she alone?
She had 3 cubs, 3 big cubs. Yeah, and unfortunately that year it was very poor fish population, really bad berry crop, just, low water. Everything was bad. And apparently after I ended up having to shoot her, and take her in a fishing game and do all the paperwork, like they had told me, oh yeah, that was probably that sow's been harassing people up there on goat hunts and this and that and the other, and other people had issues with her. But when you shoot a round off at 12 yards, which was a mistake, never do that, but and then have to shoot her at within feet, then that's,
yeah, how did that
justifiable.
How did that go down?
Well, basically I was coming just over this ridge and just climbing up out of this bowl, and I look off and there's a bear, 30 yards or however far, and she's standing up looking at me, and I just said, oh, bear. I said, hey, bear, just let her know I'm here, and she sees me. And she drops down, and I had, mittens on, and, it's cold, and had my gun, slung over my pack frame. And so I took my pack frame off, took my mittens off, and just kind of looked back up, and you could just see her head coming at me, just over the ridge. And I started yelling, hey, bear, hey, bear, hey, bear, and I was kind of sidestepping out of this kind of a frozen gravel bowl, trying to keep my balance and go sideways. And I had my gun up at that time, and I racked around in, and she just came barreling over the ridge. And so, it happened so fast. I just yelled at her, and, I pulled up, and I thought, she'll stop. I just don't want to shoot her. And I shot a round off at her feet, and I remember just seeing all that frozen rock and a little bit of snow up there, just boom, right up into her face. And there was zero emotion, and then, everything kind of slows down. And I remember the kick going off, racking my bolt, just getting ready to close the bolt, and I said, she's not stopping. There's zero emotion in her face, or she's not popping her jaw. She doesn't look scary. She's just coming to kill. So just as soon as I, closed the bolt, boom, shot her, just basically right, just alongside the snout, and because her head was kind of going back and forth, left to right, and I shot her, and it just took her off to the left of me. And she just kind of rolled, basically brain dead right away. And she just rolled down the mountainside several hundred feet. And her cubs were barreling over the ridge at me, and I stopped them. They stopped when I hit her, and they were just standing there at 5 yards, huffing and puffing at me. And I thought, okay, I've got 2 more rounds left.
And 3 bears.
There's 3 cubs. And so, but they just backed off. They didn't even follow her. It's like they knew she was done.
It's not good math.
Yeah.
No.
They knew she was done, and they just backed off and just kind of went back 50 yards and sat down and, waited around. And so that was pretty much the end of my goat hunt. I went down, I called Fish and Game right away, let them know what happened on the sat phone. And they, they were helpful and said, we can send a trooper out to help you if you need to. And I said, no, I'll take care of it. And I didn't want to stay out there anymore. I had the cubs right there. And I just, they were big cubs. They were, I don't know if she would have had
2 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I was, she was going to kick him out sooner or later, but it was just one of those things that's like, well, I don't want to have to be the one to have to put him down. So, but anyways, that, you walk around out here. I've been out here, since 2002, and I've only had that's the one time I've ever, I've had them kind of bluff charge me a few times, I guess, in different places, but they stop. But to actually have to pull the trigger on one that's going to eat your lunch, it's it's only happened one time. And walking fairly carelessly around this countryside here, so I feel pretty fortunate to only have it happen once.
Well, it's interesting because when we prepared for this trip, and I told folks on Instagram, social media, that I was heading to Kodiak to hunt Sitka blacktails. Dudes who wrote in that were like, oh, good luck with that. We had a lot of bear problems.
Right.
They got on our deer one guy's like, we had like 7 bears on our deer before we could even get to it, you know. And you hear these guys tell these stories on Kodiak of, you know, when a gun goes off and you shoot a buck, you know, it's like a dinner bell, and then the bears come in and take it from you. You know, I mentioned that to you, and you're like, wow, if it were that easy, I'd be killing a lot more bears because I could just fire a gun and they'd just come running.
Yeah, we'll just stay in camp, and I'd get that nice Yeti chair you guys are sitting in and just fire a couple rounds off occasionally and just wait on them, you know. It's just, you know.
So what do you attribute that to?
You know, some of these areas get hunted a lot more for deer, or there's areas up on, you know, north of Kodiak that have elk and whatnot, and maybe there's more people there shooting elk and deer and whatnot, but sometimes it's just, you know, when you're talking elk, there's multiple loads of meat unless you have several guys that can pack it all out in one load. But unless you have a, you know, small army of guys, it's going to take you multiple times. And if you don't get that meat away from the carcass, and I mean 100, 200, 300 yards, whatever, far enough away from that carcass, you're going to have some issues potentially. And even if you get the meat away, you can still have issues, you know. But you know, leaving meat for multiple hours or days, you know, is just gonna, I mean, they're you know, these predators are just coming in to clean up, right? This is a meal for them, so you can't blame them for wanting to come in there, you know. But when you leave meat, or if you're not speedy about something and careless, that can happen. Now, in some of these areas, you know, there's a fairly healthy population of bears, and sure, they could smell blood, and they can come on over. You know, there's no doubt in my mind, there's probably a few bears that, when they hear that sound, they're like, oh, well, I remember one time I heard that sound and
got a free meal.
You know, and I went over and there was a gut bag sitting there or whatever, a carcass. And so, that can happen. But I think for the most part, bears just happen to be there and they start smelling.
Yeah.
You know, and they smell that blood and they start coming over there. But, you know, it's just one of those things. Like I said, anything left for a period over time, you know, then they're going to start coming in.
Tim and I were out 2 days ago, and we both shot bucks that I didn't, way bigger blacktail, Sitka blacktail bucks than I thought we would even see.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
We're not blacktail, Sitka blacktail experts by any means, but the buck I shot yesterday was about what I thought we'd see, and I'd be really happy with.
Mm-hmm.
But the buck we shot the day before, those are on another level. And
beautiful bucks.
And so, I mean, super, super jacked about that. I mean, Tim and I were talking about it.
Yeah.
It's not what we expected.
It's not. I expected age class to be there, but just every bit of it, with it being, you know, December, and it is now, right?
Yep.
Not quite.
Not quite, I guess.
Got a day left or two. And my perceptions of Alaska and everything, I thought that they would be, with the late rut that these deer have, I thought that they wouldn't be even quite as healthy looking as they are, you know. And then to come up in just the most beautiful deer capes I've seen on any type of a deer, just the colors and the striking features that are on them, and then just the weight, you know, the weight on the big bucks, the mass and stuff. You can just tell that they're healthy. They're and it was mind blowing. We're like, no, there's a shooter for sure.
Yeah,
no, that's a shooter for sure, right?
Yeah.
And he's just like, these new guys, just come up here and hunt 5 times before you even recommend which one you think you should shoot.
Yeah, every time I turn to Cole, I'm like, pretty soon I'm just like, Cole, is that one big enough? You know, because they all look pretty cool to us.
Oh yeah, you know, and a lot of guys, you know, they come up here and they're just having a great time, and they just want to shoot one of these tiny little blacktails we've got here on this island, you know. And, but you know, if you want to shoot a nice mature blacktail, you're going to have to sift through some of them, you know.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask is, you know, we come up here and we're on these other deer, but I see a lot of guys and I look at their photos and admire their trips, and a lot of times it is some kind of boat charter or something where they get to stay on a boat. They they leave the boat and they hunt the shoreline for the day, and then they go back to the boat. And I don't see the kind of bucks taken like what we've experienced.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a great, nothing wrong with that style of hunting. A lot of guys do it. It's a great experience for guys that just want to get out of the weather and have a nice hot meal at night and have a warm place to sleep and be able to dry out all their gear and
not sleep with bears roaming.
Yeah. But typically the way those boat operators work, they're not really worried about you going to the best deer area. They're worried about where is it safe for this $1 million boat I have to go anchor and to not be wavy and do that. And then now where can I take this little Zodiac or whatever close enough to drop these guys ashore? And like I say, that's not how all of them operate, but that's typically it. And you as a hunter, you don't want to be out in like horrible waves on a boat and have to, worry about it all night long, like the boat, being tossed every which direction. Mm-hmm. You want to have a great experience. And so, those areas they're not few and far between. There's a lot of great anchorage here in Kodiak. Mm-hmm. And the guys can do really good out there, but it's just safety is their number one concern, which is our number one concern as well. But we can access just some different areas, being land-based. And for my clientele, like I don't make any qualms about it. We stay in tents, sometimes we eat Mountain House and, I don't really bring meat out here. Typically I brought some goat burger, I guess that time, but, we're going to eat what you guys harvest out here. And that's what this hunt is about, and so we're here to do the full blown experience and not, we're not out here to eat, prime rib every night.
Right. This is not, this is roughing it for sure. I mean, Michael, you came back the other day frozen like a popsicle.
Yeah. I was cold.
And, you crawl into your tent and I have a little propane little buddy, which is like, that's like,
yeah, that's like luxury.
It's pretty dang nice. It's not like your Kafaru stove in here, though.
I do have a nice Kafaru stove.
But, it's, even though it's roughing it, you're killing it.
You're comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not, if you're not comfortable out here, then, maybe you just shouldn't be here, obviously. And that's my whole thing is I'm not desperate to sell these hunts to like just a guy to get a check from them. I want people to be here to enjoy themselves and the adventure, not just to come collect their specimen. If you want to go collect a specimen, we'll go stay on a boat or a lodge, that you can, there's all sorts of specimens running around out there. But here, this is an adventure and just to enjoy the whole thing.
And a guy can do this, do it DIY over the counter, figure out a way to do it. He can do the boat thing, which I see a lot of, right? And then work with someone like you.
Yep.
What's it cost if a guy wants to come on a hunt like this?
This where we hunt, there's a lot of efforts that we go into to making this hunt happen. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know what the current prices are with other outfitters. I know I'm probably a little bit more expensive than most just because of all the efforts involved with doing this and fees and whatnot, and the air charters and whatnot. But, for this hunt you guys doing, I'm at 10,000.
Yeah.
So it's, it's different when you have a group of guys. You can chip down your price a little bit when you have multiple guys per guide or something. But when you're, one-on-one, with a guide, then that's what it is.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's a little intimidating coming here. The idea of coming here on your own with the bears out here and just the weather. If you wanted to get out here and land somewhere, making sure you're doing it in a safe place.
Yeah. And a lot of guys do it. I mean, there's plenty of great places to go. My biggest thing, I go into a lot of these extra efforts. Sure, it's great hunting, but also I don't like to be on other people when I hunt. And, you can go to plenty of easier places. If I just flew in and set up a basic camp, then I could be quite a bit cheaper. And I do offer some other hunts, at a cheaper price, that are just that. Fly in and set up a little base camp, or we could do a road system hunt or whatever, and those are cheaper. But to go into the efforts that we do for this, it just is more expensive. And even your average guy who's going to come down here is going to have several $1,000s in expenses to fly down and to put on a hunt like this, which is great. A lot of guys do it every year from, all over Alaska, down south, and, and there's a lot of great places to go on the island. Make no mistake. I mean, the cool thing is I've been all over the island hunting, and I don't think there's a place that you can't go. The biggest buck I've seen so far this year, a hunter take, was on the road system right outside of Kodiak.
Really?
Yep. And that's just fly into Kodiak or in a car, tell someone to drop you off, maybe a cab, whatever, go up and hike around. The key is to hunt, just like anywhere. I mean, you can figure out someone's spot and go on in there, but it's a matter of how hard are you going to hunt? How far? I mean, it's not like this oasis of ginormous animals walking around just out in the wide open for you to shoot,
Yeah, we talked about that.
So you still have to put in your efforts no matter where you go. And so those guys that hunt the road system and know how to do it, they do a good job.
Well, we talked about that on the first podcast, going out and you're hunting. We're sifting through a lot of deer to try to find those older special critters.
Right. And you get to a point where you're like, well, this is about the age class and size class that deer we're seeing. Maybe we shoot on these. And when you know that, well, no, we've got multiple days left, let's just keep hunting. You can always shoot one of those size class deer you're seeing tons of.
Right, they're everywhere.
But if you want to shoot an old mature buck, you're going to have to wait. It's just like you're at your whitetail farm back home,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or, the property you hunt on. I mean, you're always going to see those young bucks and does out in the field every single night. But does that big, 10-pointer or 12-pointer, whatever it is, the old mature buck, does he come out every night? No.
Right.
And so it's just these bucks, they just show up all of a sudden in certain spots, or they stay up high maybe with the doe until they're absolutely forced down, and it's just how hard are you going to hunt for them,
Yeah. It took us a while. I mean, to sift through a lot of deer, and I'm pretty Tim's like, tell me which one to shoot, Cole, and I'll shoot it. Like we're relying on you, and that's another thing is I'm horrible at judging animals, age and all that. You're pretty dang good. Like, it takes a little bit of an eye to figure that out,
Well, just like anywhere where you hunt, you kind of know what's around there and whatnot, and you just got to trust the local person that's there, right?
Yep. And we've been here a few days, 4 days or so, and we have not seen. Tim and I have not seen a brown bear.
Michael keeps stealing all of them.
Yeah, so we feel a little bit like we haven't taken in the full Kodiak experience yet.
I hear he's a good glasser. I don't know what kind of optics he's using, but
yeah. You got to wander a little bit further from camp, I think, maybe.
We went hundreds of yards
you go
from
hundreds
this tent.
of yards. I think we go miles.
Oh.
Will had us going way
well,
out
Will's
there.
really ambitious, Yeah, he's ambitious.
And Will's your cousin.
He's my cousin.
And your
apprentice.
There we go. That's the word I was looking for.
Yep. He gets fired often.
You're his boss man.
Yeah. Basically,
he gets fired
just
often.
like Trump man, like you're fired.
Michael, tell us about your buck, because Tim and I weren't there. How did that whole thing go down? You hiked 1 billion miles from camp.
Yeah, well,
you were actually all the way back to town, weren't you? On the road, you were walking the road system.
It didn't seem like we were that far away, relatively speaking, until we had to pack it back, and then it seemed like it was a lot further away. But no, we started out like everybody does in the morning, crossing the river and getting up on a plateau and looking out over the flats, and there's deer everywhere, and we're all like, "There's one, and they're so far away." Will's swinging that spotter back and forth, trying to look at them all as quickly as possible, and we were sitting there for a while, and all of a sudden he jumps up, starts putting his pack on and everything like that. I'm looking at him. He's not saying anything. And I said, well, what are we doing? He goes, we're going to make a beeline to the other side of this valley over here. And I'm like, okay. And so we took off, and we got over there, and he's asking me, what are you comfortable shooting? How far? And I'm thinking, where is this deer? He hasn't really told me much about it. And, we get up to a spot, and we're probably about 300 yards or so from the area that we saw it kind of go in to this brush. And he's like, okay, we're going to slip around here, and hopefully it'll just pop out on the side of the mountain there, and, we'll have a shot. And there's a small ridge, basically all full of brush. And so we thought, well, we got to get on the other side of the ridge. So we bust through all the brush, making all kinds of noise. We get on the other side, and it's not over there. It's like, get back on the other side. So we went back through the brush again, and then we went back through the brush again. It seemed like we were zigzagging back through all this brush, and we're making all kinds of noise, and anyway, tripping and falling. And, of course, as the last time we go through the brush, we get halfway through, and we look up, and we see that he popped out. Well, we don't have time to get through the brush, so it was like bang, bang. We had to hurry up and throw the rifle up on a biggest piece of brush that there was, and luckily there just happened to be a bigger willow tree that kind of there. It's still small, but I was able to just kind of lean into the crook of that thing and get steady real quick, and it was kind of an uphill shot. So there was already a smaller buck on the side of the hill. It was about 112 yards away, I guess, and this guy, he walked out of the brush and basically didn't pay any attention to us trying to slam through all that brush. I mean, I don't know if they were kind of sizing each other up or what the deal was, but yeah, he just kind of presented himself right there, and but he didn't go down right away, which was amazing to me too, because it's like he just absorbed that shot, Anyway, he took it all in broadside and kind of started walking down the slope, maybe about 10 yards or something, and then I couldn't see him anymore. And the other buck just kind of stood there, and then we, just bulldozed our way up through that brush as quickly as we could. And we got up there, and he wasn't there. And I felt really good about the shot. Everything was steady and everything like that. So that's why I was amazed that he just didn't fold right there on the spot. I'm like, what the heck? And so it really wasn't a lot of blood either. There's snow on the ground up there, which was helpful. So, we got on blood quickly, but the blood quickly went away. We weren't down into the brush kind of the way that we came out. We went right back down in there, and we didn't probably go down in there 10, 15 yards, and we couldn't find any more blood, and we were just kind of doing circles. Still nothing, and Will's like, let's just go back and, up on that slope, and let's stop, and, let's just eat something, and we don't want to keep pushing it. So you start replaying the whole thing through your mind again. You're like, okay, steady, calm, you're checking all these boxes, and you're thinking, okay, I check all the boxes, and it's still not laying here, So we finally came back out, couldn't find any more blood. We walked back up onto the slope where it was standing when I shot, and you could follow the blood trail up to that spot. And we got to the spot where we thought he was standing, and then we turned around. We were looking back down into the brush, and all of a sudden I just looked to my right about 20 yards, and there he was down in the middle of the brush, and he was kind of stumbling around. He was in his last moments and stuff, but yet I didn't have a shot, and he's still, trying to fight it off and everything. And so that's just another miserable feeling. First of all, you're miserable because you can't find it. Then you do find it, and hasn't expired yet. And so then you're trying to get in a position where you can speed that process, and we couldn't. And so quickly though, after that, we finally, gave up. But then there's a sense of relief after that, obviously, that, you did find
celebrate.
It. Yeah. It was like, really, it wasn't much of a celebration. I think it was just real relief, I was concerned we weren't finding any blood, and there's a lot of brush, and I couldn't figure out where it would have gone. And it was a big sense of relief, that's for sure. And the funny thing is, before all that happened, I looked back up on the mountain back behind us, and I saw this dark spot, and I look up there and I go, bear, way up on top, so there's another bear. So anyway, we're back down there.
He's rubbing din now.
Yeah. We had, the bear was like the first one was going away from us. So that was good. But it did go out of sight over the ridge. And so as soon as we pulled the buck up out of the brush and got it up on the side of the hill, we could start working on it. First thing I did is look back over our shoulder up there on that hill, just because, you talk about the shot and here come the bear. And bear didn't come, but we saw the things up there that you guys haven't seen yet too. So
that's a magic spot up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's all about the spot.
Yeah.
Like Cole was saying, you have to find the exact spot. It's not how you hunt. It's the spot.
And it's that silver
fox. Yeah. We looked up there and there's a really black spot, and I looked through my binoculars and I'm like, Will, are there black bears on here? He's like, nope. I'm like, what the heck is staring at us up there? I don't know. Well, it's maybe 300 yards up the hill or something like that. And he throws his binos up there and he's like, silver fox. And he was just sitting up there on the side of the hill looking straight down at us. And so we watched him for a few minutes, and then he kind of side-hilled away from us. But big. I was pretty shocked at how big they were. So, yeah, it was, deer and a brown bear and a silver fox all within a matter of less than an hour. I don't know what you guys are having problems with.
Are we supposed to?
No kidding.
No naps?
Right,
are you guys taking a lot of naps up there?
Yeah, no naps.
Maybe that's my problem.
Yeah.
No shelter.
This is great
naps.
nap weather when you're laying out there and wind's blowing, it's raining. Yeah, it's peaceful.
Yeah.
So Tim and I shot a couple of nice bucks, and I think we were glassing for a couple hours, maybe. Cole, you spotted a heavy 3x3 bladed buck, and as soon as that happened, same thing. It's like, get your stuff, we're moving. And so we started moving out after this buck, and we actually lost him the first time. Got up there, I got the bow and arrow out. I brought the bow with me that day, and we had seen him go behind this cut on this hill. So we did a little stalk over the hill, and Cole's right beside me, and a couple of deer were in this little cut, and they jumped out. And the first one that came out was a doe, and this buck had been pushing a doe. And so we were like, okay.
Thought he was right there.
Thought he was there. So I came to full draw, like waiting for this buck to pop out. It was about 40 yards. And it was another doe. So he gave us the slip. So we actually went back to glassing for a while, and then you spotted the same buck again. There's our shooter.
Yep, further down.
We got our gear together again and started moving in, and Tim was graciously letting me shoot first.
I don't recall him even saying you just took it.
No.
Actually, Tim was like, I'd really like to shoot. And you're like, too bad, sucker.
Sorry, Tim.
That's exactly
It's
how
actually a mild
went down.
fisticuff. But
Yeah. Well, so we get over there, and it's kind of a rolling hill a little bit. And this was the cool part, I thought, is as we're creeping up that, what do you call that stuff? The
tundra hummocks.
Tundra hummocks?
Mm-hmm.
Hummocks? Is that the name of the plant, or
I guess so.
hummocks, or is that the name of it? Yeah.
I don't know the exact name.
I'm going to have to look it up. I'm curious. The hummocks.
So is hummock, is that the whole things that we're going, the bumps?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's a big root clod.
So it's something that you can hide anything from the size of an ATV to a 6 foot 3 inch Irish German man will fit quite nicely into it if he doesn't watch where he's walking.
Sure. And an entire blacktail buck.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So we come creeping over the hill, and as we're closing the distance, a red fox right on the horizon, kind of skylined with us, sort of walking parallel to us a little bit. This big red fox just starts coming down the hill, and we got to watch that thing kind of walk parallel to it for a while we were on this stalk. We were thinking we were right up on this deer. Any moment we're going to peek over, and this nice buck will be there. The fox, he never really looks at us at all. He just didn't see us. Just kind of not aware of his right side.
Not worried about us.
Yeah.
And he's peeking to the left and looking, and so we shadow him for a while, and it was just really neat to be that close to a fox. At least for us, we've never seen it before.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, beautiful.
And then as we crested the hill, Cole was just inching his way over, and you saw a buck bedded. I was a little worried we were going to blow it.
Especially you got camera guys behind you. They're just thinking they're invisible, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's weird because we're like 2 feet off the ground, and your cameraman's like 6 feet off the ground filming you.
When you're like belly crawling, and then you look back and your guy's like full up, he's like, "Good job, guys."
Got the camera on a selfie stick.
And he's running in front of you.
Why do you
trying
have a selfie
to,
stick here?
Yeah.
I don't know why we hired Foss Media for this.
No, that's a joke. He did not do that. Just kidding.
We're just busting some chops.
Yeah,
it's been phenomenal.
No, Adam and Ben, they're talented gentlemen.
Yep.
And they're running the camera.
Yeah.
And we're moving in on this deer. And
but like you say, because we're rolling over a wide open hillside, and so the gig will be up when he turns around. There's 4 of us coming over this, trying to stay low, but it's still
Skyline.
You're not low enough. And as soon as he turns around, the gig's gonna be up.
So it's sort of a game of like red light, green light.
Yep.
Whenever he looks the other way or he puts his head down, we're moving closer. And how close did we get, Cole?
That's a good question. I mean, we were, was it 60, 70 yards? Was it? Or was it 80?
80? I thought it was right around 80.
Okay.
Yeah.
Finally, you can see him pretty good, and it's time we get the gun set up. I'm dialed. I'm on him, and I just want to make a good shot. And the buck locks onto us. He sees us.
Yeah. And
we're just waiting for the green light from Adam. I think you had to ask him a couple of times. And then finally Adam said yes. And right then that deer had enough, and he was just turning to go, and I squeezed it off.
Yeah, he made a great chop.
He went down, and just like that, it was like my first Sitka blacktail buck.
Yeah.
So, but was wild because we went over there, and the tundra hummocks rolls and rolls and rolls, and so we went to right where we thought he was at, and he was not there. Buck was gone, and like anything, I mean, I thought I saw him just fold.
Yeah, it looked like he just went straight down.
Yeah, just like you were saying, Michael. I thought he went down. I thought he was done, and you show up and you start looking and you start to question everything, and we're really looking, and Cole turns and he's 3 feet away from the deer or something, and he says, "Oh, he's right there," and you cannot see this buck.
He's in a 4 foot deep hummock hole, balled up. He looks like a fox in a den, like just circled, curled up. Yep.
So there he was. That was a huge relief to see him there.
Okay.
We pull him out, and I'm just stoked because he's heavy horned, beautiful.
Great deer.
Great
Really
deer. Good shot. Adam's like, "Yep, got it on film." We watched the video. I'm just stoked, right? All you could ask for. It was a sunny day. It was beautiful. Kodiak, Alaska, living the dream here. And then I turned to the left, and there's this big buck standing there. I mean, actually, what happened was I was diligently searching all the time with my head on a swivel. It wasn't by accident at all. It was skill.
Yeah.
And I turn and I see this buck silhouetted and skylined, and you just see him like looking right at us, and he looked pretty big. But I have learned my lesson to quit saying that. Yeah. Like I'll look back to me. I'm like, I'll turn to Cole and I'll be like, "Hey, that was pretty good, Cole. Check this one out." And Cole will look at it and go, "Yeah, he's a buck." So this time I'm like, "Hey, Cole, there's a buck. What's he?" And you pull up the binos, and what'd you say?
"Let's go." Something like that. I don't know what I said.
That's I remember. Yeah, he's a shooter,
but I thought he was full of crap.
Well, there's a lot of crap flying around here.
Yeah,
and so
Cole.
It's hard to tell. There's been 2 moments on this hunt that the truth actually came out, and I was not prepared for either one of those. And one was that there was a shooter buck.
Yeah.
He's like, he could tell by the look on my face, half of which is genetic. The other half was that I didn't actually believe him. He's like, "No, I'm serious. Get your gun."
Well,
I was like, "Whoa."
You guys, if you know the difference between a guide's tale and a fairy tale? Fairy tale starts out once upon a time. A guide tale starts out, "This is no So I think it was like, no, this is a good buck. Shoot him.
And you said he's got some junk, or he's got some extras,
trash or something.
Trash or
He's
something.
got an extra point. Got some trash.
And it was like game on. And that buck just sort of turned and just walked off. He didn't like run or anything.
No.
And so Tim, like, what happened then?
Like, well, I guess I better grab my crap. So grab the rifle, grab the backpack. I've got a pistol on my backpack that I carry up here, and so I had to buckle the waist belt. Otherwise, it doesn't carry right, and I worry about it dragging and stuff if I'm carrying it. And I've just kind of decided I'm going to follow him. When he stops, I'll stop. When he ducks, I'll duck. I don't know what this buck looks like, but we're moving out. And so my deal when I'm up and I'm the shooter is I don't need to see the buck with my eyes or my binoculars. I need to see it with my scope. And so I'm just following with him. And we start same thing, right? So you're trying to roll over these hills. But he makes his way over into the thick timber. It's like what I like to call it.
Timber.
Tundra timber. And in that brush, and we try to set up over the pack, and kneel down behind the pack and see if we have a good shot. And I can kind of maybe snake a bullet through there, but that's just a risky shot all the way around. There's brush. That's not the right thing. Be patient. And so Cole's really good about, keeping everybody calm, and he said, just hold on, just wait. And then let's try to move up to this bush. And so we do a little bit of leapfrogging when his head will go down. And you can make out his body. And, he's walking me through it right beside that biggest red bush. And so, I'm just a little lower on the gun than he is. And then I saw some movement. So, all right, I got him. I'm on him, but kind of a rough angle through all this brush. And we're watching, and he moves a little bit to the right. He says, no, he's over here. I'm trying to watch through the scope, but it's weird for me. I like to shoot on low power. And in that situation, if I was going to need to shoot, I wanted to be able to see the gaps in the brush. So I think it was only another 100-yard shot. It may have been even a little shorter than that. Mm-hmm. But I had the scope turned up to 7-8 power, something like that. So I could see through the brush. And if I needed to take a shot, I could see where the holes were. And he adjusted just enough. Head comes up, head goes back down. He's feeding. And Cole says, hey, do you see, right kind of where his vitals are? Do you see two little yellow branches that kind of come together? I says, yeah, I do. He says, is that open at your angle? And it was through this brush. There was this one little spot that you could snake a bullet through there, and it was in line with vitals. So we went through the same thing. Let's make sure we're all on the same page. Yep, it's this. Here we go. And on that higher magnification, I'm not going to lie. I was kind of at a weird angle. I tried to get my right knee up so I could rest my elbow on it, which is a good stable shooting position. But on those hummocks, when the rifle went off, I came off target, and I couldn't get back on him. So I didn't see what happened after that. But shot felt great. Gun performs really well. Shot felt steady. All that sounded right. So in my mind, he stacked up right there. And it wasn't until I saw the footage actually that I even knew what happened. Just run the bolt and then immediately back the power down. And Cole's slapping me on the back. And you guys are telling me it went well. And that always feels pretty good. So went up there and he was just finishing up.
Yeah, you made a great shot.
And he's a handsome deer.
Oh, then we walked up there and it was like, holy crap, Cole, you're right. This was a shooter. Yeah. He's neat. He's palmed, kind of got palmations on the main beams and on that one side. And I don't recall which one it is. The one with the junk, the extra sticker there. It's just, I walked up there and it was, he's just beautiful deer. It was a fun cool stock. Everything came together and then you come up there and it's just, we're high-fiving, about how all this went down, and we turn around and it's like, I think we're only like 200 yards from your buck at this point, and it was
or
neat.
Closer.
Yeah.
I think it was 160 when we ranged our stuff.
I was trying to make my stock
there.
sound better, like I had to work at it. Thanks, Brian. You just blew that out of the
Sorry.
water. I stalked for hundreds of feet.
So basically, we got
Hundreds
a
of
double.
inches.
Yeah, things changed like that, right?
Yeah. I mean,
not changed, but just the two big.
It was cool because we
shoot
shoot one buck and we shot the other one, and they were right next to each other. And
yeah,
well, we had work to do.
Yeah, we did, and we did it.
Yep, that's
we did the work, and It was awesome.
It was great feeling for sure. Coming out.
Tim,
heavy.
like, how would you, like, if you had to describe Kodiak, how would you describe it?
So this is one of those places for me that I've grown up reading about and dreaming about, and we talked about the one animal that you could do, or go do the hunt or whatever. For me, it's these big bears, and it's this island, and there's a mystique about all of it. So I've read about it and looked at pictures and done. I mean, I gobbled up everything I could as a kid about Kodiak and about some of the South and Central African stuff. Was kind of my two things growing up, and it's exactly like I pictured it, except 100 times more awesome. You can't until you're here, you can't picture what the mountains really look like, the way it smells, you're walking through the tundra. All of it is the way that they describe it until it's here, and it's just bigger and better and more vivid. And it's damp. We're from the Northwest, and it's damp there and cool and marine, but it's everything I expected and a lot more. But
yeah, you guys are fortunate. You had a couple of nice days, so you actually got to see what it was like in the sun and clear skies, and we kind of pay for it occasionally with this rain and wind, but it makes up for a lot of it, when you have a couple nice days.
Oh yeah. Well, we were on my stock and it was beautiful, and then it just started snowing.
Oh yeah.
Just for a few minutes as we were closing in, and then the snow went away and it broke again, and the lighting and the sun, it's just amazing. Michael, how would you describe Kodiak?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's really different to me from when we're flying over, or I had seen a couple of videos, I guess, of some other people that had hunted here just to kind of know what to expect. But it's so open, and you can see across these flats and these plateaus and stuff, and it looks like it's just smooth. You could just walk right across there, just like you're hunting antelope or something like that. And then you start getting from point A to point B, and it's miserable almost because, like you guys talk about these hummocks, and, I'm not the tallest guy in the world. So, some of these hummocks are like walking into a black hole, I'll disappear. But, up and down, it's like walking across a plowed field but the furrows are, like you said, 4 or 5 feet deep, and one misstep and you're down in there. And so you're trying to watch where you're walking, but you're looking up and you see deer all over the place, and you go across what you think is a grassy flat, and you find out it's a, swamp and a bog and it's all sloppy and everything. So, I mean, it's deceiving when you get close. That's for sure. It's not easy to get around and get through it all. And the way these deer can cover through all that terrain and everything like that, and get across these flats fast is, I don't know how they don't, tumble.
Yeah. When I was going along and there was all the holes, and I was thinking that last night as we were coming up here, I was like, wow, this place, you think it's just, you walk from here to there and you're done.
Yeah.
But it's not like that at all.
I found myself taking pictures of the vegetation, close-ups and stuff, just because it's so unique to what we're used to. And to be able to kind of describe that to somebody when you go back is hard. So, of course, I'm walking along taking pictures of whatever we're walking on.
Yep.
But, it's a very unique environment.
Let's wrap up. I just want to ask you one more question, okay?
Yep.
Cole, how would you describe Kodiak?
So dope. Sorry, I hate that word.
Was the word you were going to choose dry? I'm sure
I hate that word. It's just, I don't know. It's one of these places where it's so hard to describe to people. And we are very fortunate to have some amazing cameramen here that, people will be able to see how beautiful it is, but it's truly one of those places that you just have to see in person, and to throw amazing, awesome, beautiful, all these different words into it. It just really doesn't do it justice. But I just hope that everyone can come and see this amazingly beautiful, dope, awesome place. It's
picturing the air guitar again already.
So how would you compare Kodiak to, for example, this hunt you did for Doll or a stone sheep in BC?
BC's a beautiful place. What do they say, Adam? Beautiful British Columbia, or beautiful British Columbia? Yeah. And so, I mean, it is gorgeous. They all have some super amazing things about it. And I'm not one to say that one place is more beautiful than the other. I think it just kind of, some places tug a little more at your heart or in your mind a little more. And, for me, it's my backyard living here on Kodiak. So it is a special home, but there's some awesome places around this world. I'm from Kansas, and I think the wheat fields are beautiful. I really do.
Yeah.
Because to me, like in my mind, I'm like, look at all that wheat or corn, and there's probably a lot of pheasant and quail and whitetail in there. It's beautiful habitat.
Right.
And I truly believe that. So like, I don't know. It's so hard for me to, say, oh, this place is the most beautiful, or that place, because I think Kansas is beautiful, and a lot of people think it's the ugliest state there is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of.
You're right. No, there's beauty all over.
That's right.
That's right. Every place just has a little different appeal, a little different. I've loved hunting for Kuzdu in Arizona. Just incredible, the deserts, and I love hunting the rainforest in Prince of Wales Island. And then you got Kodiak, you got BC, you got Alberta hunting for mule deer. Like, they all have their different country, different terrain and different species. But I would say Kodiak, this is exactly what I thought it was going to be, but even cooler.
Yeah.
I didn't expect the mountains and the views. For some reason, I pictured a coastal island that was mostly tundra without the peaks.
Right. Yeah. Well, it truly is God's country, I think. It's kind of like also like his closet where he stores some stuff. Like, he's got all these extra hummocks and stuff he doesn't know what to do with, so he just kind of tossed them all down here. And the biggest one, these are professional hummocks. This is professional rain and wind down here. And so, like, it's just kind of here. And then, like, he didn't have any place to put all his extra brush, so he threw it threw it over in this bay.
I also feel like if I were to describe Kodiak, it's the place people come to die sometimes.
Are there any?
There does seem to be a little danger here compared to some other places. Like today, we had to run up a mountain to escape a potential life-threatening tsunami.
Is now the time to tell you guys that was fake, and I just was trying to add a little excitement to your show?
Rainy day.
Is that why you
now
left?
Is that why you left?
I really don't know.
Run this thing out.
Then he left his gloves down here and made us go back up there again.
That's right. That's right. We're gonna have to talk about that on a later show. But yeah, folks, we had to run for our lives, sort of,
kind of, yeah.
Ham it up.
Yep.
Yeah. So, no, we're gonna get into that. Like, Kodiak does present. Like, how cold does it get here during your hunts?
It's gotten, single digits a few times, but it's not as cold as a lot of people experience in other states where it's dry or cold or whatnot. But we have the ocean here, so much humidity in the air. It is really, when it's low 30s or in the 20s, it's pretty dang chilly. It's miserable feeling.
Yeah, and when I talked to John Barklow about Kodiak Island, he's like, it's that perfect temperature of cold and wet.
Yeah,
that makes things the most life-threatening.
Who was that you said again?
That John Barklow guy.
Huh, never heard of her.
Yeah. So, it does have that. It hovers right there. It's not like super cold,
right?
But not super, warm. It's wet.
Really harsh on gear, harsh on materials. It's a rough place to live.
Well, and good luck starting a fire. Let's say you're out there and you're just soaked to the bone. Now you want to start some kind of fire to, dry your things. What do? You just kind of start fires?
Well, we've heard from other people they just kind of huddle naked with their hunting partner and try to warm up. But thank God, in 16 years of being here, I've never had to do that.
Just eat some yellow M&Ms or Skittles.
And is that what John Barklow you did with Barklow?
No. John Boy and I are just good old pals.
Well, I want to thank you, man. This has been an incredible experience, and it's not over yet.
Yeah,
not over yet. We've got more coming at you.
We got to tell people about the fox hunt later.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because the old Tim Lesser, I think he's more keen.
You're not going to give up my secret on calling foxes, are
He's
you?
more keen to get foxes than deer.
I agree. Well, his wife told him. She kind of laid the law down at the beginning, so he's just trying to be a good man.
He is, and it's the yellow eyes. He's just pools of yellow. They've sucked you in.
Those silvers are gorgeous. The silver foxes are great.
And I would ask Cole where they hail from because they're not native to the island, but Cole won't know.
I won't know.
And
I was going to say Russia,
but we're going to say the red fox was native, maybe.
I think it was.
So we're going to follow.
I could be wrong on that too, but yeah, I've only been asked this 12,000 times, and I've known about it 11,998, and this is one of the 2 times.
But Will was saying to us, cousin Will, that
cousin Will.
The silvers are much larger than the reds.
Well, there's some big ones, but I don't know if there's that much difference. We've seen some pretty big red foxes too.
Have you?
But I would say they're all pretty close in size. You can kill some really, monster foxes, but the biggest ones I've heard of from guys who are trapping a lot and really around a ton of them, I think was 46 pounds.
And you can harvest. That's huge. That is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
You can harvest 2 wolves or foxes, two foxes, with your
hunting license. Correct. You can buy a trapper's license and you can harvest as many as you want, but under your hunting license, so each deer that comes here and has a hunting license can get 2 foxes.
They're amazing.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
They're amazing.
Really beautiful.
Yep. And how often do you see those?
Oh, we see them every hunt. Some years are more. So there's a ton of voles here right now.
Yeah.
And it seems like past few years we've had like this vole epidemic. And so I think, they're cruising around. You see them out there in a tundra looking around and mousing around and this and that and the other. But when there wasn't as many, you saw them cruising around a lot more, really coming around camp a lot more. But you don't really see them around as much anymore.
Probably because they just...
you see them all the time, but not like what we used to see.
Yeah.
It was like they were scavenged, just in your camp, at all times. It seemed like before. But, like the ups and downs in your populations of voles and other little critters are after, But it just kind of all depends on the year and fish and everything else. So
they're a cool looking
really
animal.
Cool.
They're super neat. So,
yep.
All right, folks, we're going to tune out. Thanks for listening to the Gritty Podcast.
Thank you, sir.
And as always, stay gritty. Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place in time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunter souls, my right to do some of these things myself. What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild. And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals in the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
Gritty Bowman.